Gentlemen, on the right is the one that's always after me. On the left is the one that's always after him. I've always dreamed of having them both together. Well, I finally do. I am stuck in the middle. Now they will break my heart. They will hurt each other. It's time for blood, sweat, tears. Boy, show me how you love me. Go! Fuck yourself!
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Jean Pod Van Damme cast. It is Jeff and John in the studio to review 2003's In Hell, a rated R action thriller drama, hour and 38 minutes. And the synopsis is, a man must survive a prison where hardened criminals battle to the death for the warden's entertainment. That's actually really good.
Yeah.
That's spot on.
Yeah, that'd make a good tagline, too.
Yeah, seriously. It would have made a good tagline.
It's a single sentence.
Yeah, that really pulled it through. This was released November 25th, 2003. The tagline in this is even smaller than that synopsis. Get this. Rage Unleashed.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, not too bad. Director is Ringo Lam. We've seen that name before a couple times, huh?
Those two must like each other.
I think so. And I believe this was Millennium Films again.
Yeah,
I think it
so.
was one of the trifecta. There's his three in a row there. The writers are Eric James Vergetz and Jorge Alvarez. Our cast includes Jean-Claude Van Damme playing Kyle LeBlanc, Lawrence Taylor being 451. We had Lloyd Batista playing General Rushoff.
Is he related to Dave Bautista?
That's what I was hoping for. They spell it differently, though, unfortunately. Chris Moir plays Billy, who is the 21-year-old. We'll get into that.
Oh, yeah, we will.
Yeah. I'm trying to see some of these other ones. There's a lot of familiar faces in there that we've seen on set with other movies or TV shows, television. A lot of different characters. Man, I think actually too many to really name.
Yeah, like Lawrence Taylor, he actually plays football.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of crazy. You would think. I didn't know that. I didn't know he was
outside of his acting career, he did some football playing.
Oh, really? Gee, I wonder if he was any good.
Yeah.
Yeah. What can you do? So anyway, let's get into this, I guess. I'm just looking through. I knew it. The one guy was from Bloodsport. Paco was in this.
Yeah, I knew I recognized that guy.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out who it was. Paulo Toca. Yeah, okay, well now I have to, there's just people in here. Oh, that's right, Death Race. Robert Lasardo. He was in Death Race's Grimm, in case you guys remember that one. That's the remake of Death Race.
I never got to see it.
Oh, man, it's good, man.
I
love the Death Race series. They're so ridiculous.
I watched the
original,
yeah.
Yeah, with David Carradine.
Yep, as
Death Race 2000.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Didn't they come out with Death Race 2015 not too long ago?
Yeah, and the guy Crixus from... what was the Gladiator, Spartacus.
Yeah.
Spartacus. Crixus from Spartacus plays Frankenstein in that.
I gotta check it out.
We apologize if you hear background noise. We are in studio on a day that I believe is a summer camp in the building for the kids. So you might hear some running, you might hear some talking.
And more swearing.
Usually our studio is pretty good at blocking that out, but I'm sorry. There's
No
also...
Somebody to apologize. They understand.
I know. When it comes to the love of Van Damme, little kids can't get in the way of it. Michael Bailey Smith was in this film too. He is the huge dude at the end. He's actually from Alpena, Michigan.
Really?
Yeah. Look at that. I've seen him too. He's been in The Hills Have Eyes, Men in Black 2, The Hills Have Eyes 2. I know he's done some other stuff too where I don't think he has any makeup on him. Let's see. Oh, he was in Shameless as a man in dress. I wasn't going to get into the cast of this, but there's just way
hard to
too
resist.
Yeah, it is. It's really hard to resist. There's way too many people in here that you're like, I know that dude from somewhere. He was in Malcolm in the Middle. Man. Yeah.
Which kid was he?
I think he was the middle kid.
That's right.
The OC. He's only done a lot of like one episode things, but Spy Mate. That looks like one we have to it's a chimpanzee as an agent. Look at this. Oh my
Spy
gosh.
Mate.
Minky, a super spy primate, and his partner Mike were the two best spies in the business. For years, they made every mission possible, but when Mike retired to raise his baby girl, Amelia, he never predicted that life would come full circle. 10 years later, Amelia, who has invented a revolutionary chemical drill, is kidnapped and whisked off to Japan by her hero, Dr. Farley, who is planning a highly dangerous experiment that could cause a massive earthquake and destroy the entire world. Mike and Minky partner up one last time for their most important mission ever, saving Amelia and the world from the clutches of the evil Dr. Farley.
That sounds really good.
Yeah, man. Oh, it has a trailer. Oh, this is... Welcome to Spy Mate Cast. Holy, I think Barry Bostwick's in this? He is! Barry Bostwick's in this.
Wow.
Richard Kind is in this. Oh, my gosh. Sorry, guys. We totally hijacked this. This is now the Spy Mate review. Anyway, okay. Back to In Hell. So... I've seen this before a couple times. This is your first time seeing it, so I'm very interested to how you liked it or if you didn't like it or whatnot. But we open up to a dude beating the crap out of another dude while it's storming outside. Meanwhile, LT pulls a tooth out of a guy's mouth.
Yeah.
Switches over to Van Damme as a construction worker talking with his wife on the phone. They keep talking back and forth until all of a sudden some guy ends up attacking his wife. Van Damme's driving like a madman to go save her.
And he like gets into like 17. He does get into like 17 car accidents.
Yeah, man. So it's almost like a car chase in a sense.
Yeah.
It's really, he's just chasing after getting home to his wife. But
it's kind of like when you like slip on a banana peel and you just continue to slip for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, man. Yep, that's exactly what happened. And Van Damme gets home. His wife's dead. He killed her before Van Damme gets there. He's checking on his wife. The guy comes up from behind, hits him over the head. We get a chase scene between the two of those guys just running after each other. The guy gets on the bus to try to get away, just like in Replicant when Van Damme got on to try to get away. And a little cool back and forth between the two. Motorcycle runs over Van Damme while they're in the street. The guy escapes as the cops are like arresting Van Damme, shouting, "He killed my wife!" So it switches over to them in a courtroom. We see the dude gets off somehow. Van Damme gets his own justice and just point blank kills the dude right in the court building. So then it shows Van Damme in the courtroom. He gets thrown into some Eastern European prison.
I think they eventually say it's Russia, right?
I think so. Yeah,
but like you would have
Russia.
a lot of trouble telling,
right?
If they hadn't, said like what country they're supposed to be in.
Yeah, I think they were trying to like play around, being like, we don't want to say it's Russia,
yeah,
but
some
it's
Eastern
Russia.
Bloc country, yeah.
Yeah.
And eventually they're like, oh, we can say it's Russia. All right, it's Russia.
Yeah, exactly. So I realized while I'm watching this that the music sounds very familiar, and I'm just like, does Millennium Films have just this back catalog of orchestra music that they throw in their films? Because I swear it was sounding kind of like. Well, I don't think, The Order, some of the music sound very similar to The Order.
Yeah.
And I know Millennium wasn't on that, but it felt like with some of their other films, like Replicant and The Train, Derailed, that I was like, I feel like this is very similar music.
Yeah, it had a very generic sound to it.
Yeah, so we get the typical prison scene where the guys end up having to all walk in. They're all getting naked to like give up their possessions. Some are in their underwear. The guard wants Van Damme to take off his wedding ring. Van Damme's reluctant to do so, but then gets beaten, and the guy takes it off his finger. The guys have to get their hair cut. They're showering. We see a wiener shot if you were paying attention.
I was.
Unfortunately, it wasn't Van Damme's, though.
It was
So-
weird how like they just picked like kind of random people to get their like head shaved because like there are people with longer hair.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. It was just I was thinking, okay, how come some of these guys like seriously had to get it shaved, while others like I can see when they're in the prison that it's like, okay, whatever, this is the newbie treatment.
Mhm.
Got to get your head shaved for lice infestation situation, but. Some of those guys, even the newbies, really didn't get their heads shaved. Van Damme didn't get his
No.
head shaved.
His hair was about as long as that one kid who got his head shaved.
Yeah, I
too.
know, exactly. The poor 21-year-old. After all that, we see that the guard had put on Van Damme's ring. And it's like, dun, dun, dun.
So that means that they're married.
Yep, that's the main guard, too. What do you call is there a name for a main guard?
The head bull screw. I don't know.
Yeah. Who
I'm trying to
knows?
remember my Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, I know, right? That's what I base all my prison movies off of.
That and Caged Heat.
Oh, yeah.
It's
yes.
my favorite prison movie.
You know, it would be kind of cool if we did a like exploitation podcast after this
that'd be
one.
awesome.
Just do a series like women in prison films, cannibal
Blaxploitation
films,
films, yeah.
blaxploitation. Yeah.
I have my copy of The Black Gestapo still. Oh, it's such
man.
a great movie.
All right. I think we came up with something we can do after this.
Yeah.
The 21-year-old, they keep going back and forth to him. They make it seem like, he's going to be playing a decent part in this film. You don't know exactly what yet, except when
Yeah.
they throw him in a cell with some dude who's going to rape him. We get prison rape basically right off the get-go. The kid's screaming. My butthole clenched. I felt so bad for him.
Yeah,
man.
he
That
got
was
it
not
good.
consensual at all.
Oh, no, all the screaming no and stop probably was a...
Yeah.
But then again, the guy, he may not have spoken English. They don't indicate
That's true.
that
He
yet.
might not understand. That's the body language, though. Maybe. Then again, that's what the kid might have been into.
Yeah,
though, too.
that's
Like,
true.
that's
maybe
his
like
fetish.
maybe they had like established a safe word beforehand.
That's true. It was machka. So, I realize there's a lot of group activity in this jail, especially with the newbies. Like they
Yeah.
all have them basically in the one big giant cell. I forget what they call that too, like the cattle room or whatever. And then everyone's brushing their teeth together. Obviously, they're showering together, stuff like that. We see that the kid is beaten badly, and Van Damme is looking in at him. And while he's looking in, they're all walking to wherever they need to go. He sees a dude that looks like the killer and has like a flashback and starts fighting him on the suicide prevention fence.
Mhm.
That was pretty cool. The guards break it up. Van Damme gets thrown into solitary confinement.
Which has like a big, gross, open sewer
I was just
moat
gonna say,
around the bed.
Yeah, he gets the shit pipes whenever someone flushes or whatever. Yeah, that poop moat.
It just goes right around his bed.
Yeah, just right around his stone bed. There is no cover on it or anything. Van Damme's not eating. He's going to kill himself. He rips his clothing up to make a clothing rope, but it breaks when he tries to hang himself.
Classic newbie mistake.
Yeah, he's starting to have hallucinations. He's running himself headfirst into the wall over and over again.
That was pretty well shot, like when they blurred the camera out of focus when he hit his head on the wall. And...
Yeah, they did that a couple times in this film, like to
Mhm.
show like when he got knocked. Ringo Lam, man, mwah, good
Yep.
job. A moth comes flying down, and I was like, what symbolism is this? It reminds him of his wife and him chasing out a moth out of their house. And she's like, don't kill it. Some people say when you die, you turn into a moth. And I said,
that would suck.
yep, exactly. It's like, if that's the case, I hope I don't wander near a fire.
Yep. Hope there's plenty of closets without mothballs for me to...
Yep, I'm going
Chew
to
on.
eat your clothes. A guy is going crazy in the next
Yeah,
cell
all this like
next to him.
retard moaning. And then he's like slapping the wall, and then he slaps the wall. But
Yeah.
it's not like a plaster wall, it's a brick wall. There's
Yeah.
no way you would hear someone
no.
slapping it.
Nope, yeah, not
And if
at
you could
all.
hear him yelling, you could just talk to him from the
Yeah,
other
just be like, hey, calm down. Like
Yeah.
at first it's like Van Damme's trying to get him to settle, kind of doing the neighborly thing of
Mhm.
taking your broomstick and hitting the ceiling, like, hey, knock it off. Meanwhile, the moth leads Van Damme to his porridge, encouraging him to eat. And any way that a moth can,
Yeah.
obviously.
It's kind of like Charlotte's Web.
Yeah. The
more
moss made a
suicide and
web.
anal rape, though.
Yep.
A little bit more.
just a tad. The guards send Van Damme out to a new cell, and they tell him basically he has a roommate that likes to kill his cellmates. And guess who it is? It's LT. I was like, wow, I'm surprised they allowed candles in the cell. There's 3 candles near the toilet. Van Damme's going to take a crap, and LT basically blows the candles out and turns off the lights on him. We switch scenes. The guys are working on laying down railroad tracks. Van Damme ends up switching scenes again, speaking to some guy about the prison life and trying to get out of there. Mm-hmm. It's like, was that his lawyer? Was that his buddy?
A friend?
His
Who
boss?
knows?
I don't know. That was just really, honestly, that wasn't needed, but I can understand kind of because later on it plays into the storyline just a teeny bit. Looks like there's a gang fight about to happen when the guards come in and break it up. The guys know something is up. This is where things start to get a little more unraveling. It's not just Van Damme in a prison film. Mm-hmm. The 21-year-old gets a year and a half for something he really had no clue about. We end up meeting a guy in a wheelchair who tells Van Damme all about the prison. It's a war zone inside and out. Meanwhile, Van Damme having nightmares about his wife dying. LT starts to cover his mouth, and we think he's trying to kill Van Damme.
Yeah, it's like his giant baseball mitt hand over his like mouth and nose.
Yeah, and he's just like, I expect peace and quiet. I just started laughing about it.
His acting wasn't as bad as you would have thought.
I know. That's exactly it, too. Like, I was going to save it to the end, but LT has some chops, man. I was expecting to see him in more movies after this.
He's a better actor than he is a wrestler.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, man. Same goes for Dennis Rodman.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you, who do you think did the better job, LT or Dennis Rodman?
Oh, man.
That's kind of hard.
Yeah, I'd have to go with Dennis Rodman. But I guess that's because of the comedic value.
I was going to say, like, the comedic value, I don't think people realize how much timing goes into comedic value, and that's kind of hard to pull off. And sure, Double Team was kind of cheesy in that way, but Rodman fit the role. On the other hand, it's very hard to act serious and menacing like LT does in Hell. So, man,
that's true.
Good job to both of them. I think the big thing that really surprised me was that there were so many Westerners stuck in this prison.
Yeah.
A lot of Westerners.
Is this like some sort of like diplomatic prison or something?
Yeah,
or?
I don't know, man. It was a lot of probably Americans and Canadians, I'm thinking.
Yeah, and a lot of Hispanic people, too.
Yeah, that's true, too.
And zero Russian prison tattoos to be found anywhere.
Anywhere, right? Even the big dude, the big scary dude. Yeah. You think that they would have put tattoos on him?
Yeah,
when
like
he comes in.
like a castle on his back or something.
Yeah, nothing. So they're all eating. The tough guy raper spits in Van Damme's food.
Very rude.
And like he sees the kid and he's like, I can't wait for you. And you're like, oh gosh, not again.
He's going to put it in his butt.
Oh. Van Damme wants to switch cells, gives the guards some money. Then we see the ladies of the prison dancing, and we find out that the guards set up the fights basically to make money with the other wardens in the area. There's a good fight back and forth, and the guys keep going after being told to stop, and it almost causes like a little mini riot between the two gangs. LT doesn't fight because he gets rid of the guys the guards don't like. So it's back to the 21-year-old. They're sending him back into that cell. A lot of rape in this movie.
He's definitely found his niche in prison.
Yeah, the kid tries to stab the raper, but gets stabbed instead, and you're like, oh, damn, he's going to die. Guys try fighting Van Damme while he's working on the railroad. I was like, what's going on here? Then I realized what it was all about. They said that Van Damme disrespected him. The guards say, well, tell him to get his respect. And they beat the shit out of Van Damme. Van Damme's not even really fighting.
Yeah,
he gets beat up.
He definitely gets the worst end of the stick in most of the fights in this movie, which is a big difference from most of his films.
Exactly, yeah. I think partially when I saw this, that was one of my biggest realizations when I originally saw this. I was like, oh, wow, Van Damme's actually getting beat up. He's not so much of a badass yet.
Nope.
They throw Van Damme back into solitary confinement, which that all makes sense why he wants a different cell. So and that's their way of giving him a different cell. Once again, we have the guy screaming, hitting the wall. Van Damme's hitting the wall back, eating his porridge. He's dreaming once again of his wife. This time his wife's in the pool and he's trying to get her attention. The moth comes back and Van Damme starts talking to it. We get more wife flashbacks. We get some rain starting to come down through the prison while he's looking. I'm like, oh no, the poopy water's going to flood.
I know. Ew.
The guards end up pulling Van Damme out of the hole. The raper ends up telling Van Damme he's a dead man. The one gang ends up pocketing a knife while all this is going on. Guy walks up, slits the throat of one of the dudes in the other gangs. I don't know. That's just trying to show that there's just this craziness going on inside, right?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
It was gruesome.
Yep, it was gruesome. That's for sure.
While the one guy was lifting the weight too, and he got blood sprayed all over him.
Yeah, and he dropped the weight on him. No one to spot him because everyone was so worried, trying to take two guys out at once. Van Damme is reading LT's journals. Why would you read the guy's journals who's going to kill you, or at least you think is?
He's such an interesting guy.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
he
that
is,
journal
man.
is amazing.
Hate gives me strength, even when there's no hope. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
LT catches him. And
he's like, so what'd you think?
Yeah, hey, do you think this can get published? Van Damme walks out of the room. I think he realizes he's going to die if he spends the night there. We see that the 21-year-old's still alive, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then the raper comes up to Van Damme, says he'll see him tonight, and sniffs Van Damme. Van Damme starts fighting him after this. He gets his ass kicked again. It's a smart move, though, so he doesn't get killed by LT. And LT does some narration while Van Damme is in confinement. Van Damme starts working out. Then it switches over to them outside again. The guys find a mine. All of a sudden, this dude is driving over it, and the guards are like, no, don't do that. Car blows up. We don't know who these guys are. The two Americans start making a run for it, and they're getting shot at. The long-hair one dies, which we didn't really make mention of him because he was fodder for the film.
Yeah.
The 21-year-old takes off into the wilderness, and then a chopper is following him, and there's sheep running by, and he's on the road running. He ends up
getting Hill music playing.
Oh, seriously, man. He gets caught. The guards beat him up. They're like, you're more useful to me as a bitch. And then he gets raped again. I think the rape counter is up to 4.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Van Damme is climbing the wall up into the ceiling dome window, and they switch to him outside. He's carrying rail ties on his own. Those things are pretty heavy, so that was pretty impressive. He's punching a punching bag, working out. LT trying to do his own thing, getting annoyed. I don't know still why you would do that in front of LT, but he's starting to like Van Damme, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
We see that the fight comes up. This time it's Van Damme versus the Raper. Van Damme and the Raper have a good back and forth. The guy throat punches Van Damme to get the upper hand, and then he just starts beating the crap out of him.
Yep.
Puts Van Damme into La La Land, and we start to see that little motion of the camera again as well. The guy starts wrapping Van Damme's legs around a pole, and Van Damme kicks out of it, ends up getting the guy down on the ground and bites the motherfucker right in the neck, making him bleed out. And Van Damme starts screaming. We get a Van Damme scream. He's covered in blood too, man. He's on the ground screaming. Everyone is silent. They finally broke Van Damme. He is now this killer. LT says something along the lines of, feels good, doesn't it? Shows Van Damme back to fighting dudes. We get a good montage of him beating people up. We see that the wardens bring in other fighters from other prisons to fight him, and this is also what starts up obviously the wardens betting and all the prison guards betting money and doing this underground fighting.
Why don't they do that in American prisons?
You would think so. I'm actually surprised that we haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, really?
Probably pretty soon. It'll be on pay-per-view.
They did it in Luke Cage.
Yeah.
There's a lot of similarities to Luke Cage, actually, now that I think about it.
Is LT Luke Cage?
No. Well, wait.
Is Van Damme Luke Cage?
No. You haven't seen it?
Oh, no, I did see Luke Cage. I loved Luke Cage.
Me
by the way.
too.
Oh, that was awesome.
I only saw the first 6 episodes, though.
Oh, dude.
I can watch them all now because I have Netflix now.
Oh, there you go. So Van Damme's fighting one dude, and the guard tells Van Damme to finish the guy. He soccer punts him. And we get LT saying something along the lines of, "You think you win? When you've been to play their game, you are losing. You lost yourself." Van Damme, "What are you looking at?" LT, "Do you even know who you are?" "Probably not." Van Damme's looking like a mobster now. His hair's slicked back, has a weird looking goatee going on. Kind of scaring me a little. And the guy's telling Van Damme he spoke to the ambassador. This is his buddy. And Van Damme tells him not to give him hope. Nothing will change. Forget about him. So the guys are being entertained by this woman singing. It's like Russian Independence Day when Van Damme meets this gigantic motherfucker from Michigan who's transferred from another jail to fight him. We see that the kid is up to something. He's getting a key. He's trying to escape again. The warden is talking to the cameras, making the prisoners clap. LT says it's all bullshit to keep them down. I said, uh-oh. The kid gets caught once again trying to escape. The main guard beats him up, saying he has more time added up to him. They don't want to touch his face because he's got a pretty face. We see that the guy in the wheelchair set him up. LT sees this. The kid ends up getting manhandled by the big dude that was brought in to fight Van Damme.
Thoroughly manhandled.
Oh, man. Raped again. LT meets up with the wheelchair guy. The wheelchair guy, was he on heroin? Was that it? Was that what his payment was? Or was it like diabetic medicine?
I don't remember.
I couldn't tell. Like the guards gave him something, but he was doing it out in the open in front of people. So I thought it may be insulin or something. So
could have been. Well, I mean, like, it's funny because you think the guy's supposed to be like the wise archetype
right,
guy
he's
who shows
red.
everyone around. Yeah, he's like the red of the movie.
Yeah.
And it turns out no.
No, he's a snitch. Kid gets beaten up pretty badly by the big dude. Van Damme goes to check in on him before they take him to infirmary. The kid says to Van Damme, "He tried to make me kiss him, but I spit in his face. Don't let them turn you into something you're not." And then he dies. And then they throw him in a shallow grave.
Good job, kid.
Time for Van Damme to fight the big dude, but instead he ends up crouching and won't fight.
Yep, he does a Slavic squat.
Yep. And the big dude just beats the crap out of Van Damme.
Does he like kick him right in the dick?
I think so. Yeah,
it's like a running kick to the dick.
Yeah, man, you're right. There's our dick exchange. Van Damme still won't fight. The warden is pissed. Van Damme tells him he won't play his game anymore. So they decide to chain Van Damme up to some structure like a windmill or something. And Van Damme's just outside day and night, chained to this thing. Rain, snow, leaves falling, basically the whole time. All sorts of weather. Wheelchair guy gets LT some like kerosene or something, some fire starter fluid, and LT just dumps it all over the dude. Guy tells LT he's just trying to survive, but I got to get out of this place. Please help me. He lights him on fire, which leads to an LT flashback. And he's doing a narration over, but I was so lost in this flashback and traumatized. His teacher's like being nice to him and grooming him, and then he molests him. And so
that was very creepy.
Yeah. Yep. That totally. Oh my gosh. One thing I didn't point out was that LT has some scarring, some fire scarring on him. And I don't think they explain where it came from at all. Did they?
I think did he burn down his school? Didn't he
Maybe
kill his teacher
did.
or something?
I'm assuming that's what happened.
Is he an exchange student in Russia or something?
It kind of looked like it. I have no clue what happened. Meanwhile, Van Damme's still out in the yard. The other guys are looking at him. The one prisoner's like, "We want peace," with the other gang leader because Van Damme has inspired the guys. None of them will fight. None of them at all. The warden's just pissed off. We see that I think Van Damme, LT said their power was gone. They couldn't punish everyone. The moth visits Van Damme, and it's the spirit of his wife.
Turns into like a glowing nun.
Yeah, man.
Thing.
She looks like she's a Jedi. She's glowing there, and the Force is with her. She says something along the lines of, "When you forgot yourself, you forgot me. You lost everything." Meanwhile, the warden is talking to the lead prison guard, saying if we kill him, we turn him into a martyr. We must destroy his mystique in front of everybody once and for all. They take Van Damme to the infirmary where his spirit wife is there visiting him again, basically telling him to keep the faith. Van Damme's sent to confinement, and there's some more pounding on the wall. Van Damme pounds back. Warden's saying he'll show the consequences of Van Damme's disobedience. They want Van Damme to fight this huge monster dude, like Frankenstein, scary.
And he's wearing like a gimp mask.
Yeah, he looks like a mix between Mankind's and Vader's mask, is what it is. Van Damme's realized this is the guy that's been banging on the walls the whole time. He's trying to convince the monster that Van Damme was his cellmate, basically. And so the dude's beating him up, and Van Damme's like slapping stuff until finally it clicks with the monster dude, which turns the monster dude against the guards. It works. They're about to shoot him, and Van Damme's like, no, stop, shoot me instead. And the guard has his gun pointed. The monster runs up to him. They start shooting the monster, but he takes a bunch of bullets, still takes out a bunch of guards, starts a prison riot. Prison goes absolutely insane. Van Damme goes over to the monster dude, holds his hand while he dies, and puts his shirt over the big guy.
Man, I would wash my hands after that.
Yeah. That's you're totally right. I wasn't thinking that in that moment.
I mean, the guy was just like, the only way he communicated was by going the whole time.
Yeah, and smashing stuff. Yeah.
I bet like all that sewage from that moat was from his cell too.
Oh yeah, dude, you're probably right. He was a huge dude.
Yeah.
I don't know what they called him. Maybe I'll look up in the cast.
It was some Russian name. I can't remember.
So beds are being lit on fire. LT gets out. Giant big chaos. Van Damme and LT are just hunkered down and waiting. Van Damme, LT tells Van Damme he can get him out of there. He has every death and murder that has happened in that prison, and he wants Van Damme basically to expose it and tell the world. We find out 7 inmates and 1 guard died, including one of the gang leaders. But there's one more fight, and then it's all going to be said and done. Van Damme's fighting the big dude. Good little back and forth. Van Damme gets into an arm bar. He smashes Van Damme into the ground. Van Damme ends up breaking like the dude's shoulder. Dude pulls out a knife from his boot, tries to slice Van Damme with it. Van Damme slams it into one of the other prisoners and then slams the dude's head into the pool. I don't know if that killed him or not, but it sure looked like.
Yeah.
He was like, this is for the 21-year-old slam. Van Damme gets handcuffed and escorted away. Meanwhile, LT looks like he's breaking out. The guards are about to put Van Damme in a truck, and I must have missed this. I don't know why they were taking him out, but maybe they're just going to transfer him to another prison.
Could have been.
So Van Damme and LT end up beating the shit out of the guards, and it looks like he's about to kill the main guard, but takes his ring off of him instead. I had to say, while he got the main guard on the ground, they're in like the garage, and so some of the vehicles are being worked on. There's a vehicle up on just the regular car jack, which is, kind of safety 101. You don't just leave that lying around when no one's working on it. And Van Damme, the guy ended up getting kind of under it. Van Damme kicks the jack out from the car. Car smashes the guy's legs, and he says something like, I think the guy was like, you'll be sorry. And he's like, I'm sorry. Something like that. Something happens. I don't know. It was one of those kind of fun lines. Oh, no, he says you're making a mistake. And he's like, sorry, my mistake.
Yeah.
And pushes it. That's what it was. So Van Damme thinks LT is coming with him. He says, no, this prison is his home. Van Damme dresses up in some guard uniform with all the info and whatnot and gets into the BMW and drives off. LT somehow is up in the warden's area, closes the door behind him, and the warden's like, you're not supposed to be here. And he says, you talk too much, and he pulls out his pliers.
Ugh.
The guards come up. The warden is on the ground. LT is bloodied, but he's taking a drink of some brandy or something. They take LT off. Van Damme escapes. It's an end of the scene, and then we get a black screen, and then up pops the words saying 3 months later, Kravavia prison was shut down. The end.
Based on the incredible true story.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And that had me cracking up at the end with that. It was just like, we ran out of budget, so, Van Damme exposed him. This is LT's home, but it's now shut down.
Yep.
So LT's
still
home.
lives there.
Yep, he still lives there.
He's
to
the
this
new
day.
warden.
I want to see an In Hell too, where there we go. He
I'd
still
watch
lives
that.
there. There it is. In hell. Was there any titular lines at all? I don't think there. I don't think anyone said that they were in hell.
No, I
at
don't.
one
I don't
point.
remember anyone saying they were in hell.
Yeah, you would think you would remember something like that. That's it. What would you give it on the split scale? Like, I mean, first off, what was your reaction to it?
I was. I know I say this every time, but this movie was not at all what I expected. This movie was so bizarre and over the top. Like,
yeah, man.
I really enjoyed it. I was
Yeah.
pleasantly surprised. I thought that I mean, it borrowed a lot of elements from about 5 or 6 different other prison movies,
Yep.
which is par for the course. Like, there's elements from of course, The Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
A lot of Midnight Express.
Oh yeah,
A
man.
whole lot of Midnight. Even like the ending was right at Midnight Express, where he dresses up like a guard and
Yep.
escapes. Him being broken and finding himself again. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of parts that didn't make a lot of sense to me, but I think altogether it was a very good film. I'd give it 8 splits out of 10.
Yeah, man, I definitely agree with you. I was pleasantly surprised when I first saw this. It reminded me kind of like older Van Damme films in a way.
Mm-hmm.
We got kind of that fighting tournament going on just in the background that wasn't really all a part of it, but it got Van Damme back kind of into that action spot again, and not in the terrible derailed sense of ways,
Yeah.
but
Ugh.
Van Damme was looking kind of crazy too, man. He looked really built. Might have been taking some TRT during this time.
Yeah.
He had that long hair at one point and the beard. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, that weird like Van Dyke thing he was rocking. It was...
Yeah, he looked like at one point he kind of looked like the guy in Van Johnson that he ends up killing.
Oh yeah.
Remember when he has the long hair? He was like, Time Cop was the better film. Same matter can't occupy same space. You have good taste in films, my friend. That's coming out soon. I'm so excited.
When is that coming out? Do you know?
I think either sometime later this year or right in the beginning of 2018.
Oh yeah.
The 3 movies, I know we mentioned this in the past, Tick, I Love Dick, and Van Damme. Well, I Love Dick's already out. Tick is coming out very soon, and they're just making us wait for Van Johnson. So I'm really excited. Can't wait for that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, I agree with you. 8 splits out of 10. I don't know. There's some goofiness in this movie that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it's still there's something. It's still entertaining in
It's
what it
definitely
is.
a Ringo Lamb film.
Yes. Yeah, definitely a Ringo Lamb.
I never
film.
thought I'd be able to say that, but
I know,
we've
right?
seen enough of his filmography.
Yeah,
at this point
who would have known that? Yeah, we would definitely be. His name would be added to our memories or
Yep.
dictionaries.
It's classic Ringo Lamb.
Yep, classic. There's that Ringo Lamb again. All right, getting into some trivia. This is what bums me out is that the trivia for these films, there's not much.
Yeah.
Because it's the 2000s. Lawrence, this totally makes sense. Lawrence Taylor's character is named 451, a reference to Ray Bradbury's novel Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah.
Van Damme and Paulo Toca have both appeared together before in a prison film titled Death Warrant in 1990. I'm surprised they didn't mention Bloodsport as well.
Yeah.
But I guess they want to keep that prison film theme there. All right, moving on to quotes. I think I had more quotes than what they had, and they're all LT quotes, basically.
Well, he did have the most lines in the movie.
Yeah, pretty much so. For a movie like this, there wasn't too many lines in it.
Well, he's kind of the voice of the narrative after he got to prison.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Unity of people can bring down any establishment. Their power was gone. Without evil, we would never recognize good. People say one thing and do the other. It's just all bullshit. Don't waste words. Just best not to say anything. Yeah, okay. Shut up. Oh, man. Alrighty, this takes us into 2004 with Wake of Death.
Does he fight a shark in this one?
I wish. No, this one looks like it's a revenge film. This might be one where we start to see Van Damme kind of going off more into the Hong Kong area, because this has a lot of Chinese influence in this film. Chinese triads, I guess. The triads.
Triads.
The triads.
Triados.
The Triados. That's the Spanish Chinese version. Yeah, no, because around this time, I think Van Damme ends up starting really to leave America and starts.
Very sad.
I think he lives in Beijing now, Hong Kong or Beijing, and he also has, I think a home back in Brussels too. But anyway, yep, Wake of Death. That's next. Neither one of us have seen it, right? You haven't seen it.
I have not.
It. Very interested to see how that goes. After that, we start getting into like Van Damme playing like television shows and whatnot, like one episodes. So we'll either see if we do an episode per episode on those or how it will go. We might just do it one episode, kind of like Friends. So either way, that's it. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider rating on iTunes, leaving us a review. Also, we are on Patreon at patreon.com/podbros. That really helps us out. Please consider donating. If you use Amazon, please use our link. Go to podbros.com, scroll down, hit it. Doesn't cost you anything. Gives us a little bit of a kickback. All right, I am done shilling. I am John.
And I am Jeff.
And you've been listening to another episode of the John Pod Van Dam Cast.
Oh, man.
Is it a sin when you reach your limit? When you've taken your last step? When you can't go no more? You find that dark place deep inside. Forget the world you come from. Embrace the world you're in.